Hello, this is the first in a series of Photoshop Illustrator techniques that I have come up with, and I want to record them in this kind of video notebook. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create this image, this pattern that you see right here. I'm going to start off creating the lotus flower in Illustrator and then porting it over to Photoshop to do the final embossing technique. So let me start. Bring up Illustrator here. Now, a nice thing about creating graphics in Illustrator, you can pretty much create it at any size, page size, because you can scale it up without any problem. When you bring it into Photoshop. So this lotus flower actually is a technique I found on a YouTube tutorial some time ago, and you can do lots of variations of it. It's a pretty neat set of techniques. So I will start here. So what we're going to do, our goal is to create that this kind of a flower effect. And so we're going to start off with ellipse, and then we're going to do some transformations of that ellipse. So the very first thing we'll do here is grab an ellipse, and I'll make it kind of narrow. And then I will zoom in. And then use this tool. This tool here is part of the pen tool. Go to the anchor point tool and click on the bottom here to sharpen out the points on this. Now I take this petal, and also what I'm going to do is I'm going to have this to be with no fill. So it's got, and I want to make sure, if I can find it here, if you go to here, if you open up this little widget here called stroke, and if you don't have the stroke, you go pick stroke here, and I want to make it 3 pixels thick. We'll now select this item and do a copy and paste in front. Then I'm going to grab all of this guy, make sure that they're lined up, and then with the cursor up, get it to go fairly close so they're touching. Okay. Now I'm going to combine these two guys into a single group. And then going to the effects menu, distort and transform, transform. And the transform appears on my opposite monitor. Bring this out here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to divide this into, I'm going to rotate this thing by 15 degrees, and it's going to go 12 times. So we can kind of see how this works. Click in here and then up arrow. We want to have actually 12 instances of these petals. Now you've got this look in here. Now you select this whole thing, go into Object, and then Expand Appearance, because we want to start editing within this. Next step is we're going to start colorizing these different portions within the petals. If we look at our original here, I basically started with red, orange, and then magenta. So let's do that. I pick this guy here and pick the live paint bucket. interesting thing here is some of my swashes are on the second monitor. I'll bring my swashes over here and make sure that the object is selected, and then we're going to pick color, and I want to color in here. This one's going to be red, this is going to be orange, and so forth. So do this. And then we finish up here. Next we pick this orange. We go around the circle. Probably is a automated way to do this, but they don't know how. And then we pick magenta, the outside. The magic of video editing. So we've got that, and then we've got the final one in the center. We'll zoom in a little bit. We'll pick, ooh, don't want to do that. This guy. Right in between these. Okay, so now we've got our basic flower. Oops, forgot about this guy. All right. Now we want to create a circle around this. And the way to do that, pick yellow. And if you use the Shift Alt, you can start from the center and then make a circle. Go into Object, Arrange, send it back. And now we got our form. We now want to take this form and bring it into Photoshop for the final processing. So I select this, copy it. Let's bring up Photoshop. And let's see, what's the size we want to create here? Basically chose 2048. You can pick any size you want. Paste that in. So we'll prompt, and we'll treat this as a smart object. And being smart, I can rescale this without loss of resolution. As you move around here, you'll see these guides that can, basically allow you to center it. That seems to be the right size. And then you go up to this check mark to say, okay, this is okay in my transformation. Now in this layers drop down here, we've got a background, and then we've got a layer for this graphic that we put in here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make this background into a regular layer by just clicking on that little lock there. then I'm going to pick a gradient. The gradient that I'm using here, something I created, it's centrally defined as blue on each side and white in the center. You can pick any gradient that you want. So I pick this, make a line across, and that becomes your background. And then to give it a kind of metallic, rough metallic effect, go into filter, do noise, add noise. All these menus will pop up on the other monitor. And then what I picked was Gaussian, monochromatic with a mount of 15. That seems to give it kind of a nice quality to it. Okay, so we've got that. Now I go back up to this layer, and what I'm going to try to do is, if you can see the effect of this, I want to bring out these lines, but pretty much keep the graphic the same otherwise. So in order to do that, there's a trick. It's very useful in doing embossing. I'm going to use this layer here as sort of the main layer. I'm going to create another one, and it's going to create a mask. I'm going to create a mask that just highlights the black areas here, and then I'm going to bring that out, extrude that out. So to do that, I come into here and I need to duplicate this layer. So I come up, it's kind of off the video here, but there's a menu that pops up, and I say duplicate layer. Now I got two of these. I select this top one, and now what I want to do is I want to create one of these vector masks. But before I do that, I want to go into selection, color range, and this is what the options we have. What I want to do is really bring this out. Now you could bring it all the way to here, and it's bringing out some of the white in the background. That's not what I want. So this 105 looks to be pretty good. If you do this, it's kind of pixelated. So I think something like 106 or 105 seems to be pretty good. So where the white is, that's the part that will be able to add the embossing to. And where there's black, it just leaves it alone. So I'll select that. You'll see it's create this selection here, this complex selection. If you look at this little button here, this is Add Layer Mask. Click on that. And now it looks like nothing's really happened, but if you go to the FX and do Bevel Emboss, you will get this menu here. And what I chose was outer bevel, 300, direction up, size 7. And you can get this if you had the defaults. You can get this by just switching to the defaults. Add 300 here, and then leave everything else the same pretty much. And now you get this nice effect, which is pretty much what we had inside there. In the next video, I will expand on this little lotus flower, and then have some petals around it. And again, this was part of another video that I thought was pretty neat. And you can change the original ellipse. Do not necessarily touch the two that we had side by side. You can actually expand those out and create all kinds of different effects. So based on the size of your ellipse and how far apart they are when you do the transformation, and how many, you can change the angle of the rotation transformation, and you get all kinds of different possibilities. So that should conclude. And now if we look at it, it looks pretty sharp. And one little trick here for zooming is if you select this and hold the zoom key, you can kind of move this back and forth. nice option. Okay, that concludes this particular tutorial.